Hey, it's Tara and it's time for Sunday Reads. This week I finished just one book. I finished Eva Darrows' The Awesome. I think it was like last week, maybe the week before, I impulse bought this one because Elizabeth from Books and Pieces hauled it and it sounded amazing. I think I talked briefly about it last week. Basically, this 17-year-old girl, Maggie, is a monster hunter working with her mom, and they kind of have a strange relationship where her mom is not quite sure how to raise a child in a normal sort of way because of the world they're living in. The world of The Awesome is not much different than the world we are living in right now. It just has more monsters and things that go bump in the night, and that's what Maggie and her mom are doing. They're taking care of those things that are disturbing people. Monsters aren't necessarily kill on sight. They're only if they're dangerous to other people. So this follows like their adventures as they, work through this. However, the actual plot of the story, the actual focus of the story is basically getting Maggie laid. She can't become a journeyman monster hunter until she has lost her virginity, because virgin blood is incredibly appealing to vampires and assumedly other creatures. So in order for her to be less of a danger to herself and to others, she has to lose her virginity. But she's, grown up in this sort of environment where she doesn't know how to, be feminine or be seductive, or she doesn't know how to find a boyfriend, basically. So yeah, I was really excited going into this book, and as I mentioned last week, I wasn't really feeling it, and unfortunately that lasted through the whole book. There were a couple of kind of big plot holes that sort of messed it up for me, but it was an adventure. It was something different. It did address some issues as far as like youth and sexuality, and there was a lesbian couple, and acceptance of that sort of lifestyle, queer lifestyle, as well as like alternative lifestyles in general. So that was interesting, but I think the way that it was handled was not the best. It was really crude, and a lot of the conversations were crude, and lots of foul language, and just the way subjects were broached were a little bit too much for my sensibilities, I guess. So yeah, I don't know, maybe I would have enjoyed it if I was a little bit younger. I'm not sure. I think I might have been scandalized when I was a little bit younger reading about some of this, so I'm not sure how I would feel about like my kid reading something like this, even if she was 17 herself. I don't know. I'm one of those people. I'm pretty open about sexuality, and I'd love to, have that relationship with my children if I ever have any, where we could talk openly about that sort of thing. But the way it is approached in the book is a little bit like, so. Anyways, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend this one for teenagers, basically. But yeah, it's a fun read if you're looking for something a little bit different. But it can also be a little bit frustrating. So basically, I think I gave this one like 2 or 3 stars. I can't remember, but I wasn't super impressed with it, which is unfortunate because the idea was just so cool. Anyways, I also started reading Treason, the 4th book in the Inda series by Sherwood Smith, and I will say that the bloom is a little bit off the rose. I really loved the first book. It was a lot of fun, and they were younger, and a lot of things were more innocent, and now we're into mature territory, and it's a lot more political intrigue and things like that, and I think that's part of why, like, the atmosphere has changed so much that even though it's still a world I love, and it's still an interesting story, I feel like it's changed so much. We've grown with the characters, but maybe it all happened too quickly, which is weird to say considering this is book 4 and all of the books are really long. But basically, it just feels different, and so I'm not loving it as much as I loved the first book. But I still am really enjoying it. I'm about halfway through, and I don't think this is a spoiler. In the 4th book, someone said something that made me realize, I think they're trying to pass it off as something a little bit different in the book, but I feel like maybe Inda is autistic. I don't know much about autism, but it does seem like that is something, and even if that's not the case, I think that that's a really interesting way of like going back and looking at the way Inda has handled things, and how his relationships are, and how people accept him just the way he is without wanting to change him or anything like that. And I am curious, for those of you who have read the series, what you think about that idea as Inda as someone who has autism, and I don't know. I think it's interesting. Like I said, I don't really know much about autism, but it's something that I've been sort of looking into off and on, with the rising awareness in society in general, and having a few friends who are autistic. So, yeah, any thoughts on that? I'm curious. I don't know exactly what I think about it myself just yet, because it just occurred to me maybe like 2 days ago, but I think it's interesting representation in a fairly popular book series, even if it doesn't come right out and say that he is. I don't know. What do you think? Anyways, that's it for what I have read and what I'm currently reading this week. I will finish Treason and definitely start Hothouse by Brian Aldiss. I keep talking about that, but never reading it. I don't know. I'm not super excited for it, but I'm gonna do it. So yeah, that's it. If you see my lovely paper chains, I sat down this weekend and just watched an anime, like an entire anime, 24 episodes of Lovely Complex, if anybody knows it, which is, it's a fun but terrible drama. Romantic comedy drama. But yeah. And, I had nothing else to do, so I made a paper chain, and it's lovely. It's brightened up my apartment quite nicely. In other news, 2 of my friends are coming back to Japan for work stuff, and one of them is coming Thursday, and the other is coming Sunday, and I'm very excited to see them both, so I'm looking forward to that. How about you? Anything exciting going on in your lives? Have you had a nice week? Do you plan on having a nice next week? What are you reading now? Any good movies that you've seen lately? Recently I've been in a watching things mood, obviously from the anime, but I would really like to watch a movie. So yeah, anyways, until next time.